We got some more real life drama, and these are your stories. I know a lot of people ask, the form is currently closed because I had over 200 submissions and I'm trying to get to every single one. So it will be open again soon. First one wants to be left anonymous. Oh wow, it starts with prepare yourself prepared. I went to a Christian university in the 90s where I made many friends who I am still close with today and are my closest friends. One of these women, I will name her Tracy. Tracy was having her children the same time I was having mine. My first 2 children were born 6 months after her first 2. Life went on and I enjoyed these friendships very much. When my youngest was 5, I learned that my husband, let's call him John, and Tracy had been talking online. Oh my God. This could go so many ways, and I'm thinking worst case scenario. This was very concerning to me because it was being kept a secret and I didn't like it. At the same time, John told me that he didn't love me anymore, oh my God, and did not want to be in our marriage. Okay. I was shocked by this and fought with all my might to keep my marriage together. Now, Tracy's husband, we'll call him Jim, was a pastor in the state that we lived in, so I messaged him and told him that Tracy and John had been speaking online, and he told me that it wasn't a problem and I should just let it go. Something's going on here. This continued to be a problem for me. I did not like what this could mean. I'm thinking it too. Worst case scenario. A couple months later, I came home from work one day to find my mother and my brother in my driveway. They both lived 2 hours away, so I was shocked to see them there. On a side note, my dad was waiting for a lung transplant and very ill. The first thought that came to my mind was that my dad had passed away. They quickly told me that was not the case, thank God, and they were there to talk to me about something. My brother also went to college at the same time I did, so he is friends with all the same people. He told me that he got a phone call from Jim, and he told my brother that Tracy and John had been having an affair and that she was now pregnant. Yeah, I was calling the affair, but I thought maybe there was going to be like your kid wasn't, I don't know. I was thinking like one of Tracy's kids was actually your husband's, which, you know, kind of, I don't know. It's kind of happening now. I immediately got in my car and drove over to John's workplace. I asked the receptionist to have him meet me out front. I'm not someone who uses bad language, I never have, but when John came out of that building, every curse word that I've ever heard in my life came flying out of my mouth at him. I was screaming and crying, and he just told me to get over it. He lived with her. I told him not to come home. I went home and my mother helped me pack his things up and put them on the front porch. I was not even going to give him the chance to go through anything in my house. My in-laws happen to live about 7 houses down the street, so John went and lived down there with his parents. Oh my God. Ugh, you gotta live with your cheating ex 7 houses down. Vomit. We did divorce because I got the money together and got an attorney. John and Tracy did marry after the baby was born. I bet Jim's feeling pretty stupid by saying, oh yeah, I have no problem with them talking. You should just get over it. Okay. Legally, they weren't allowed to marry for 6 months after the divorce, but they went to another state and got married. Whatever, my children went and saw their dad every other weekend from then on. There were some blessings in this situation, and I hung on to every one that I could find with all my might. My children were only 5, 6, and 8. They were very young during this whole time. They already knew Tracy and loved her, and they knew her children. So it was a very easy transition for them to be seeing her family every other weekend. But also weird to now seeing your dad with her. I knew that she loved them too, and that she would take care of them. Going forward a few years, I learned that my ex-husband John had become an alcoholic. I knew the kids were coming home from their dads on the weekends and telling me that he slept the whole weekend. I did think that was odd, but never in a million years did I think that he was a blackout drunk. Seems like the grass was not greener in his new marriage. Tracy did travel a lot for her job, and I told Tracy and John that my children would not be going to their house on the weekend unless I knew that Tracy was there. I did not trust him to be sober. My youngest daughter was only 5 when all of this started, so she began to call Tracy Mom. When I tell you this broke my heart, I do not have words to express the pain that this caused me. Sharing your kids would be so hard. Co-parenting is no joke. Thankfully, I do have a very wise mother, and when I spoke to her about it, she asked me if I would tell a stepchild to stop calling me mom if they happened to start doing that. I thought about it and realized that I probably would not tell them to stop and let them call me whatever they wanted to call me. That did give me some perspective, and I was able to deal with it. She didn't do this for very long. I think it was probably around 6 months to a year that she called Tracy mom, but then she stopped. John and Tracy divorced 12 years later. They are now married to other people. I never did remarry. I would love to because I enjoyed being married, but it has to be the right man. I have enjoyed watching your videos since I found them a couple months ago. You are cute as a button. I thought that was part of the story. You're talking about me. That's so nice. Look at me. My eyes are filling with tears because I cried everything, okay? I just cried everything in life. That's a wild story. I mean, I was kind of calling it from the beginning. However, I respect that you kept it very civil for the sake of the children throughout, because that would not be easy. I'd be wanting to throw some hands at Tracy, I'm not gonna lie. All right, next story is coming from Libby. I love that name. I met this guy when I was 20 and he, let's call him James, was 18 turning 19. He was absolutely gorgeous, you know, tall, olive skin, dark brown eyes, great smile, fun, the lot. He was very popular where I lived. Never in a million years did I think that I had a chance. But lo and behold, he liked me too, even before we officially met. We started seeing each other over and about after a few weeks. Over and about. Over and about. That's very Canadian. After a few weeks, I and my 2-year-old son moved in with James. Oh, damn. Things were great and he loved my son and told me he loved me too. After 3 months of living together, which was great, no problems arose until one day we find out I'm pregnant. He is over the moon and I'm a bit shocked, but okay, we're going to have a baby. A couple days later, literally a couple days later, he gets a phone call saying his ex was pregnant and going into premature labor. She was about 6.5 months pregnant. Wow, is his life about to change? She was being airlifted to the capital city in my state to have the baby, and the baby might not make it. No. I told James to go and that he had to just in case his baby didn't make it. I packed some things for him and basically pushed him out the door. Never did I think that was going to be the last time I saw him. Didn't you move into his house? While he was gone, I decided to go visit my parents in a different state. I ended up staying, and I actually thought about terminating my pregnancy. I didn't. She's 29 now and an amazing, beautiful young woman. Throughout the years, my daughter would ask about her dad, and I always said the same thing. Handsome, tall, we loved each other, just circumstances beyond our control took us in different directions. I looked for him on social media every few years, but he has a very common name. Think John Smith Common. Never found him. Did you just move all your stuff out one day? How did you guys never talk again? I have so many questions. Fast forward 27 years and my daughter asked for all the information I could remember about him and her friend got to work. Within 3 days, they did what I was unable to do, and she rang me crying, saying between sobs, she found him. Our generation knows how to investigate. I will find someone for you on social media. Just let me know who. I was speechless, almost. He was going to ring her the next day. Our daughter would talk and see via video chat for the very first time. They talked for over 2 hours. Then she rang me so excited and so happy, and I bombarded her with questions. Where he is living, is he married, what does she think of him, etc. She replied, ask him yourself. He's going to ring you shortly. To say I had butterflies is an understatement. I never got over this man. We never actually broke up. Anyways, he video called me. We both cried. It's all a bit of a blur talking about our daughter, the lives we've lived, and so on. For the next 3 months, we spoke every day. Shut up if you guys end up together. Shortly after he flew to meet his daughter, he asked me to marry him. What is happening? This is a movie. I said yes. Of course, I was going to say yes. Have you seen this man? No, but you could have put a picture, all right? I would have loved to. After spending more and more time with him, though, I realized he wasn't quite the same. Well, it's been 27 years. But he convinced that I was hiding a secret lover from him, or that I was being controlled by someone, and we were just toying with him for fun to hurt him. I know, crazy. Oh, how I wish it stopped there, but alas, it didn't. James also thought there was a guy living in my roof. What are you talking about? We would send each other secret messages through knocks and taps. I would perform for the roof dweller every time I had a shower. Is James okay? Sometimes the roof man would whisper my name through the toilet window or my bedroom window. None of which is true, obviously. Mind you, eventually he asked me out of the blue if he needed to pay anyone a retainer for me. When I asked him what he meant, he replied that he had dated a prostitute before and he had to do so. And he was wondering if he had to this time. What? Yes, he just called me a prostitute. Oh, and the guy on my roof, my pimp, so he thought. Side note, I am not and have never been a lady of the night. And the more I protested and got angry about his ideas and assumptions, the more I was just trying to cover or deflect. Okay, I got so excited for this story and it's not what I thought it was. And he thought that was proof. We would argue and fight, and he would cuss at me the most hateful things in the heat of the moment, and later would think if he just said sorry, that it would all just be fine. By this time, I so had enough of his delusions, I couldn't take it anymore. We had to break up. I could not be with someone who thought all those things of me. So we did. He blames me for the breakup and tries to guilt trip me with things like, but our daughter, blah, blah, blah. We were fine and dandy for the first 27 years of her life. We will be fine now. Anyways, that's the shorter version of the love that didn't quite conquer all. And here I was rooting for you and James. I was so excited when you guys found each other again. Yeah, not quite. Perfect time. We are hopping on hydration station. Grab your beverage, but I will encourage you to take a sip of water today. Okay? Even just one. Cheers. Next one comes from Connor. The time I got stuck in an elevator at work. One of my biggest fears. One of many. No thank you. This happened a few years ago when I was working at a local manufacturing company in Columbus, Ohio. Just to give a bit of a backstory, I was working as an administrative assistant at a local costume manufacturer company that specialized in creating, designing, and distributing mascots to businesses all over the world. That is so cool. Some examples include Sesame Street characters, as well as Brutus Buckeye for the Ohio State University. That's such a fun job. A couple years ago, our company's owner, Ping, announced that we were relocating to a brand new warehouse in the suburbs, so we had to begin to move out. That sucks. Moving sucks. FYI, the building was 3 stories high, so we were using our building's elevator to help transport everything. Also, our elevator was manually controlled, where it was controlled by a lever. While I was transporting things from the 3rd floor, I pulled the lever to go down to the lobby. While on the way down, out of nowhere, the elevator started shaking violently and there was a loud rattling sound. I'm having an instant panic attack. I looked over towards the gears and to my horror, I saw that the shaft got stuck on a broken piece of structure. I frantically pulled the lever to stop and thankfully it did. I was trapped in between the 2nd and 1st level of the building and I couldn't get out. The space between the shaft and the door was too far to try to climb out of. I'm no Spider-Man, so I resorted to calling my boss to get me out. I was stuck in the elevator for a long time. But thanks to the amazing work of my boss and our team, we managed to get the elevator unstuck and I was able to get out and continue working on moving everything out of the building and onto the moving trucks. But that is how I got stuck in an elevator. That's terrifying. I got stuck in my condo elevator, but it was for probably a minute and a half. The door was like cracked this much and I was panicking for about 90 seconds. And then it just continued moving. Worst 90 seconds of my life. All right, next up, they want to be left anonymous. Update pertaining to our narcissistic Canadian neighbors who I have named Kevin and Karen. I remember the first part of this story. On July 27th, 2022, I sent Kevin a demand letter for the $358.60 in damages for the front yard. I sent this by registered letter with a signature. The next day, I watched through our front window and saw Canada Post arrive at Kevin's house. 2 weeks later, the letter was returned to us unclaimed. Prior to mediation, we were required to exchange all our evidence to each other. On November 12th, I sent 100 pages of evidence, oh my God, to Kevin via registered mail that required his signature. On November 16th, I sent an email to Kevin reminding him to pick up the package. His response to me on the 19th was to thank me and that he looked everywhere for the notice but couldn't find it, and my email made it clearer. I went back and checked Canada Post website and found out he picked up and signed for the package on November 16th, the same day I reminded him to pick it up. He not only lied to me, he tried to deceive the court. We sat through mediation for over 3 hours. Kevin provided little evidence, which mainly consisted of staged pictures and one video showing our sprinkler water going over their property line, watering 2 feet of his grass. Kevin refused to believe the documents that we provided to him for mediation and thinks he has every right to disobey the laws of the court and the city if the matter was set down for a pre-trial conference in April of 2023. All right, guys, I will let you know when the form is back up and running. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and I'll see you in the comment section.